Hello, my name is Fernanda Mejia. I'm from Project for Healing Humanity. We're back now with Blair Corbett from Ark of Hope for Children. We were talking about the issue of sex trafficking. So let's continue, Blair. Where were we?
You know what, Fernanda, I get frustrated in the sense of thinking about what do these victims that are rescued from sex trafficking, what do they need? Where are they going? Mm-hmm. You know, because the same thing goes there. People want to think, oh, they're rescued now, everything's fine. Well, look at the one who hasn't been, abused in their own home by their own parents, but they've been being used in the sex trafficking industry, and it's really something people have to see. Where are these people going?
So then you have, let's put a scenario so we kind of visualize this here. Let's say the FBI or any agency just rescue 60 kids.
Right.
Okay, where do these kids go? I mean, if they're coming from another country, where do they go? Do they go to a foster home? Do they go? What happens here, Red?
Well, see, there needs to be more places that they can go that are prepared to help them with their situation, with the things that they've been through. These people need to get rehabilitated or even just habilitated for the first time, depending on how long they've been in what they've been in. But
so first, when they rescue them, what happens after that?
Well, what's been happening is that they go to, what used to happen is they go into juvenile detention. Because these are people that they may have been abused and stuff go on, but they're people that have acted out. They're people that have broken the laws, so they're putting them in juvenile detention facilities. They've been realizing they can't do that. So then they thought foster care. That makes sense, right? Put them into foster care homes. Well, the foster care system is made up of a whole lot of what's just the normal thing is a mom and a dad or a husband and wife who want to open up their home to have somebody come in who's in need.
So these people are really not specialized, or they don't have the training to be able to deal with a child that has been repeatedly trained to have sex and being brutally raped, and who knows what else is going on. So here this boy or girl comes in with needs that need to be met urgently. They're going into a foster, and that's what I'm imagining, they go into a foster home with other kids that probably have different needs, and with parents that are pretty not equipped to do this. My question is, does the state require for them to have a special treatment for this boy or girl that is coming into the house? Is there any particular program that they're going to? I mean, I can't imagine.
Well, look at okay, you know what, let's look at what the needs of some of these kids are, as we've talked about.
There's sex addiction, something that I actually lived.
Okay, there's a reason we're talking about just a child sex trafficking things. We're trying to focus somewhere. I mean, there's children brought into slavery, and there's children, for these different things. But for the sex trafficking industries, we can focus. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they've been brought in to, let's just face it, these kids, male or female, are being forced into having sex, 6 times a day? That might be even the minimum. Okay, so if you've got a child, and let's face it, even if they're teenagers, they're not professional prostitutes, they're children forced into something. If you've been programmed to have sex 6 times a day even, sometimes 12, it's not going to just go away just because you rescue.
No, they need so they're going into this home with all these children.
Or even just mom and pop, Mr. and Mrs. Jones are taking this kid. They're not going to know what to do with this child. They're not.
And there's nothing in place for them, so we don't really know what they're going and how they're being treated or what's happening to them then.
Well, we don't. But let's just say this, okay? We don't know, but rather than focus on if there's any kind of a problem somewhere, what are the needs? You labeled one.
This sex, drug addiction, most likely.
Most likely, it's guaranteed just about
sex,
because
the sex part, the sex addiction. It's really, in my opinion, for my experience, will be this intense addiction to pain and pleasure.
Oh, exactly.
So here we are. I mean, if I'm already 44 and I struggle with these things, imagine what a child that just began. I mean, it breaks my heart. I can't even talk about this.
Well, you think, okay. Well, you just named a couple, all right?
Right.
But you said there's an addiction to sex. Wow, I never even thought about that. That's what most people are going to say. I never even considered that.
It's a high risk of them acting it out. I don't know.
So you're going to have to be able to treat. Let's just look at the sexual component for a second, and then go into the others. There's an addiction to sex. There's STDs.
Right.
Okay. There's damage done to that child because of forced sex and things like that. So you've got to deal. There's three things right there that your average parent, your average set of parents is not going to have any clue how to deal with.
Wow.
Okay, so before we go on to the rest, what's wrong with them going into the normal system? Well, what's it? Mom and Pa Jones are not prepared to deal with it. So they make a phone call. That's how the foster care system works. Not that it's broken. They make a phone call. I can't deal with this. Within 24 hours, the system's supposed to pick up that child and move them to a different home. So a child that's been through child sex trafficking and has those three issues to deal with, they're going to bounce from home to home to home to home. And they're going to eventually end up at some kind of a group facility or highly specialized kind of place that can control them. Well,
and medicate them.
Medicate,
right.
Perhaps, but here's the thing, control them. That's a problem because the sex industry has been controlling them. Okay? They don't need to be in a controlled environment. They need to be in an environment that helps them, that understands them, and can help them learn new ways.
Even the educational needs. I mean, these kids cannot go to a regular school until there's treatment. I mean, I can imagine somebody who's been caged and repeatedly raped to be able to go and deal with the bullying, the peer pressure, whatever is going on in the school. They need a special. They need homes. In my case, I would think it would be homeschooling. It would be a totally different way of educating at that point. One question I wanted to ask you is, yes, some are brought from other countries, and if there are children that are in this country that are rescued, do they contact the parents? I mean, what happens? I'm sure most likely these kids were abused right at home, right. And that's why they either run away from home or the pimps find a way to get into them, right?
Right. Well, now you're into
what
another.
Happens with the legal parents once they find these kids? I mean, how do they? You know what?
I can't answer necessarily what the let's just say Department of Homeland Security or whoever is doing in that kind of a case. But I'd just say from a logical standpoint, you've got kids coming from two different areas to get into the sex trafficking trades. Okay, perhaps three, but whatever. A lot of in this country we focus on the kids that have run away from home. So now the homeless kids. The Defender Foundation and others, they say the average kid cannot be homeless they're a target within 30 minutes of the time they're home. 30 minutes. Because most of them are living, they head for the cities where they can get food, where they can get their needs met, right? I'm telling you, the industry is looking for these kids. And they snatch them up, they befriend them. So the kid's going to go to just about the first people that befriends them. So this sex trafficking industry is it. They lure them in with food, with compassion, with love. Those kids are runaways. Why? Because a lot of them are being abused at home. There may be the ones, of course, that just are troubled kids and they don't get along with mom and dad and whatever, but a lot are running away from abuse themselves. So they run to the streets. Within 30 minutes, in the average city, they're targeted already by the sex trafficking industry.
I gotta stop here because I'm gonna cry. I just gotta stop. Hello, my name is Fernanda Mejia. I'm from Project for Healing Humanity. I had to take a little break just to digest all the information that Blair Corbett is giving us regarding the kids that got through sex trafficking. So I had to collect myself to be able to continue with that.
It's fine. I mean, it's overwhelming. It's hard to think about, but this is the thing that people need to think about.
Right.
And
so we
were talking about the problems that. What are some of the problems that these kids that they need to address? So
the solution.
one of the problems, if we can get back to that, is the sex problems. Again, the addiction, the STDs are the things they might have picked up, and the damage done to them in a physical sense from I'm sorry, but rape and stuff like that. So, but then let's move on to the other things that people generally don't think about. They're controlled. These kids are mind controlled to the point of they're trained. The authorities don't like you. The police are your enemy. The people in authority don't, whatever. That we're your only friend. And they first it's by love and care that they're putting that into them, but they're using physical abuse to control them. They're using drugs and alcohol to control them. Okay, so that's why I say it's all control. So you take these kids and you put them into a group home facility or whatever where there's control. It isn't going to work. It's going to feel the same to them. Okay, but so anyhow, you've got to deal with drug addictions. You got to be ready for that. How are you going to detox from drugs?
So when they go to foster homes, how do they detox these kids? I mean, I'm not trying to get into the foster home. Is the only thing that I can think of. Okay, whatever facility they get to, what kind of treatment are they getting?
Well, my point is in bringing this up. Is they've got to go. There's got to be facilities that are developed that can address these different things. Things that people don't think about because they don't understand how the industry works.
Or they live in chaotic environments. They need a peaceful environment. They need someone that is safe. I mean, the schooling has to be completely different. It's a whole new program. I believe. I don't know. This is my opinion.
And there's very few, and that's now you can see it. It's becoming clear as we're painting this picture of what these people need. Okay, young people. Oh, let's face it, the people that are brought out, you go in, and we've heard the stories like down in Tampa, we're in Florida, so they went in however long ago and they arrested 11 people that were doing this, right? How many victims did they say? Where do those victims go?
Well, obviously they can't release the information because they're going to go after them, right?
Right.
So,
right.
But we don't know where they're going. So everybody in the news is, they're happy. They release them, but what's happening with these kids? How many of them actually really make it?
Well, that's just it. What do you do if you're one of those kids or one of those people that's been programmed into this? You've got all those issues going on. Where do you go? You go into Pa Jones foster home. You go into juvenile detention. You go to wherever. None of that is rehabilitating you. None of that is fixing what's happened to you. So if anything, it's just hidden. It's covered. As soon as you can get away, you want to run back to that because that's what you're used to. What we need to provide is something that's going to show them a different way. Something that's going to show them, no. I know that's what they tried to show you is love. Here's love. We'll show you what love is. And you said, what's going to happen if this kid is found out that he was a runaway? They're just going to send him back home? I hope not.
Someone going to send back home? Or?
Well, I don't know. I can't answer that. Okay, I don't know. But regardless, I would say that even if they were runaways, is that they're going to provide a facility somewhere that's going to meet those needs to bring that child, that person, that girl, or whoever it is back around to be rehabilitated. And to be rehabilitated, if you want to call it that. I have frustrations with the word rehabilitated because that assumes that you've been habilitated once. What if you haven't? What if you were taken off of the streets in another country or your own country, whatever? Here's what they do. These people that are doing sex trafficking are very wise. They will take victims from wherever, and there's chains of selling the victims. There's people who will buy them, So you can get taken in one country, taken to another country, and end up in a totally different country. They want to bring these kids.
They take their passports away. And I actually, let me interrupt you. I have someone close who was actually sold by her cousin, and she was taken to another place, and she was explaining to me that it's there is this battle between them is like, yes, they need the money to survive, so they're trapped. At the same time, they want to get out. And when they try to get, and it goes on for a while. And when they try to get out, either they take the passports away or they threaten them. So it is a very, I mean, it's really hard for them to get out of that situation. And so it's, I mean, that's something that we need to make them aware that not all of them are really quote enjoy. Oh, yes, they're doing this because they like it. When they go into male prostitution or they go into female prostitution after that, they go through hell.
Oh,
with all this, they go through hell.
Imagine if you're from, I don't know, France, Ukraine. You're pulled off the streets or whatever. You pulled into the system, and you're brought to another country. That's what they do. They'll bring these kids from another country to a place where they don't speak the language. It's right there. There's a barrier. How do you go and get help, even if you want to get help, when the people there don't understand you? You don't.
So what can we do as a community? Let's say, you know, us, individuals that walk every day on the streets, what can we do? What are the signs? Where do we call? I mean, I gotta commend the defenders. I don't know how they can do this job, but I mean, this is amazing how they could rescue, put their lives in danger. And this is a very dangerous field, you know. Right. I'm sure that they probably, some of them have been threatened, or they have to find ways to do this without being, you know, their names being revealed or something. But where does the community go? How do we go about this?
Well, I think
what
it's
numbers
important.
do we call if they see a suspicion of a child being sex trafficked? I mean, what are the signs? Let's say if I'm an individual that doesn't know anything, that wants to know a little bit more about how do I recognize them on the street?
Well, we need to develop some things for that. Unfortunately, I heard about that even the U.S. government has developed something for how to recognize the signs that somebody's being trafficked. And you know what? I really want to go into another video because I know I'm gonna bring something up here, and I want to just lead into the next video without going there yet. Because Fernanda, we need to talk about what are the signs. Everything I can find out there points to the female victim. Everything the government has, or Joe's Goodwill organization has, or some of these great organizations that are out there, they say, how do you recognize that a girl is being trafficked?
How about the boys?
Oh, time out. Did we just forget Penn State ever happened? You know, all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to go there yet because, well, I'm going to take it off in a totally different direction on you, but maybe we can do another video.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up by saying...
No, I don't want to wrap this one up yet. We're not wrapping that one up yet. We're saying we were identifying some of the problems, and we haven't hit some of them yet. One of the problems is, what do you do with a girl or boy who's now rescued, who knows only Russian or Spanish or whatever, and is now in this odd country? Do you send them home to the country, the language that they're going to understand? You can't send them home. But you can't. Where do you send them over there? So our country, United States, has started making it so they can have visas to stay here. Thank God they've been doing that. That's wonderful. But there needs to be places that they can be taken that are ready to deal with the sex things, deal with the drugs and alcohol things, and the other programming things, and possibly to deal with somebody who doesn't even speak the language. Think about that. You know, so that's what I think. That's one of the other things to be addressed. Another one we haven't even talked about yet. That's why I wanted to go back for a minute. Is all the emotional torment that they're going through. Well, these kids that are in sex trafficking, I say kids, whether they're 12 years old or 24 years old. You know, they're not usually taking 21 years old off the street and putting them in sex trafficking. They started at 15 or 12 or whatever it is. Yeah, whatever it is. So they need someone that's going to help them deprogram and help them deal with the emotional pain of all this. Because, you know what? I went through my own forms of abuse as a kid, okay? I went through my own things that caused me to do what I'm doing now, but regardless, there was a point in time where I hit a wall. I couldn't, all these things that I tried to bury, that I thought were buried all my life, hit me. They hit me. Oh yeah, you know this. And we can talk about that sometime. But at 30, 35,
I mean, when you less expect it destroys your life. I mean, you could literally easily end up on the street with.
Oh yeah,
the
and that's
emotional trauma, and you can't function
that's
unless
why
you find therapy. You cannot function.
no. That's why the system, whatever system, I don't care. You know, I'm not talking about foster care. I'm talking about this system
Right.
for helping these particular kids need to be able to have something in place to address the
Right.
emotional problems. And I'm sorry, these kids be going through post-traumatic stress syndrome. I help. You know what? Did you know? We've talked about that. I help a lot of kids online. I know
Yeah, we
this
mentioned
might be new to the people in the video, or whatever. I help victims online all over the world, and some of them, a good amount of them helping, have been through sex trafficking or very severe physical and sexual abuse. Okay, what that does is, their bodies may heal, but their minds don't heal without help. Okay, so what we do is we've realized, even though we're not professionals, I mean, I'm ordained or whatever, but I'm not, you know, is we can listen a lot. Let them talk. Give them an environment where they can talk. And then a place has to provide professionals that can deal with these different things, or programs. There's healing programs, there's psychologists, there's all kinds of things that can be provided, but the thing is, we need to provide them in places like this.
And where is the funding for them to do that? Because most of them, you know, they can't pay for it.
Well, the victims sure can't pay for it.
Right.
But that's what the program needs to provide. And that's, I think, what we were trying to answer is, what are the needs? Well, these are all these needs.
Yeah,
They're
we were
really
until
complex
one
needs.
time until like almost 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, probably. We were
Well, so
just
we want to say,
talking about
yeah.
this.
So that's where Ark of Hope for Children is. We're thinking about what are these needs. And lots of places need to be thinking about that, because these survivors, they cannot be rescued. They cannot be rescued by defenders, or the FBI, or the police, and just magically fix themselves. It ain't going to happen. And we could make it worse. You know, so what are the answers for those victims? If we don't provide something, a lot of them are running right back to where they came from. Because at least the familiarity of that was good for them. But what if they don't even speak the language? They want to run away, they don't know when to run away to. They get hopeless and they kill themselves. Or they get homeless and they live forever on our streets. And how many years later is it that we're pointing fingers going, look at this useless person, oh my God, they could have made something of their life. How many of those people are abused kids or trafficked or whatever, and we're not helping? So, I mean, now I'm taking it too far. But that's what we need to provide. We need to come up with places that can provide that sort of a thing.
It's just making everyone aware that it's not, oh, they rescue, they're fine now. We have to really look into what is really being provided for them. And that's what we wanted to do today too. Just, you know, by our conversation, you know, start asking questions. Where do they go? What program is being provided for these kids? I mean, are they making it? How many are really saved? So we just wanted to share that with you.
So I thank you. I mean, I think this is really important. We've opened a dialogue. We started something here, and I think, you know, I want to be able to keep that going. I want to keep these questions in front of people's minds, because if people out there are going to have some answers, or they're going to wake up with a passion and say, you know what, I need to get involved. I did not realize it was this bad.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thank you.